on one of mom's her life verse, and it's also in the pamphlet. It was also one that we found that was also in her Facebook, like her profile. So, and it's the life verse of 2 Timothy 1:7. I'll start off by reading that. I'll read it from my mom's Bible because it's a better time to do that. So it goes at 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And when I knew about that, I've known that was her verse, but it always seemed interesting that it was in the book of Timothy. And so, I didn't really know if it was like a case of namesake or favoritism, but I've come to realize that this has been really fitting for this time that I've had in the past week or so, because I've seen, it's easy to be scared, it's easy to be upset, but I've seen God work through me through this whole experience, and it may be a kind of an unconventional thing to have a memory be something based on those last few weeks, at the time of Mom's passing, but I felt like through that I've seen so much transformation and so much just movement that I just, something that seemed impossible to me, it just seemed things possible by God's grace. It was during my mom's passing, and I was one of the only ones that was able to do it at the time. Someone over here by the name of Steve Schmucker, many of you know him. One of the things he helped me during the time in Mom's last room was to hold Mom's hand, and it was an interesting experience because I think it was just one of the things I did, and when I realized it was a lot becoming harder than I realized, despite everything I've been through. And at the time too, I knew I was starting to feel emotional and starting to cry a little, because just from seeing her breathing heavily, that it wasn't like a painful breath, but it was a heavy breath, but it was still hard because it's not hearing her voice for so long, and that was kind of her. And despite that, and not even being certain if I could have continued to hold her hand, something visual came to my mind that helped ease my anxiety, and it was imagining me holding Mom's hand as she would run her last race to glory. And that is so fitting because my mom was a big runner. It was the kind of thing that some or family members, we never stop hearing about the fact that she was a runner. She used to run marathons. And there are stories of her being able to run in scalding hot temperatures and people passing out, and she's still able to run. She had great times. I was not really there for these instances, but it was nice to know because I would later feel interested in just running 5K races, and this was just a great thought in my mind, and it helped ease me to this because I remember too, it was also a good time to remember when I ran a 5K race, and that was one of the first ones I did, and when I was seeing the finish line, I felt the urge to just run as fast as possible. My standard pace became just sprint practically. And I remember that time because I remember I was going fast, and my mom I could hear her cheering, "Go down, go down," and she could barely see me how fast I was going because I guess I was that excited to go. And it's kind of just like a nice memory of just finishing, the great image of what finish line faith is pretty much like. And it was that kind of image that I was able to hold her hand as long as I could until around 6:45 in the morning, and she breathed her last. And it was a very interesting experience, though, and this is coming, but I felt, and felt a sense of some sort of relief just being able to be there with her. And this is such a contrast of me from the times that I've had so much anxiety the past few months, because, without getting into detail, I lost my job in November because of some certain anxiety issues, and so a lot of stress from not knowing if I could trust myself to be stable. Well, and one of the things she did help me was she always had a way of trying to help bring over to, some things like this that would help me, it would be over the counter medicine, but it's she knew, she looked into it, and she read that one of them helps ease the mind. And over the more recent weeks before her passing, I had noticed that I've been feeling calmer and able to handle things, and I think this probably segued into my ability to handle this. And at the beginning of it, I had a lot of panic and stress still, but it was to be expected because of uncertainty, not knowing my future, and not knowing what was going on, because some things were kept from me. But over time, I was talking to people through Facebook, I was informing people, and I've just seen so much support through this whole time, and I've just seen so much, and he was now, it's just such a blessing, and it helped me feel the ability, by them helping me, I also felt like I was able to help them through this time, so I felt this ability to be able to be strong too, and it also comes to show that even despite having almost 30 years of anxiety and anger issues, God was still working with me and in helping me improve by His grace. Mm-hmm. And it may not be easy, but God will show you how to overcome even the most difficult trials. And I want to close with a few Bible verses, and one of which Pastor Joel did, but it's always nice to reiterate and think to go through for emphasis. So it's going to be Matthew, I believe. I have these bookmarks, so with Mom's business cards. So. Also, that does have our life verse, so 2 Timothy 1:7. So the one that I found was on Mark 9:23-25, and this was Jesus said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out, and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. And that was definitely one of the verses that came to my mind, because I definitely felt a sense of uncertainty, not knowing, and it's how do I trust God through all this, and I didn't want to just not trust in Him, but I also felt and it's such an importance that we are able to even ask God, help me from my unbelief. And through this, I also realized another verse that felt like was also fitting through the times of my of Mom's passing, and it's also in relation to David's sons that would be passing away because due to punishment for a grievous sin that David did. But there's a specific point in that always caught my attention, and I felt really fit in here, and even with the time that I was handling with my mom. When he found out that when he found out that David's son passed away, the verse goes on 2 Samuel 12:20-23. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself, and changed his apparel, and came into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came to his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, What thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive, but when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead, wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, for he shall not return to me. And isn't that kind of how we feel at this time, that it's easy to feel like, we want someone like Miriam back, but, realistically, we should be going to where she is in heaven in glory, and it's just, but it's with that understanding of, that we go from a state of despair and fasting and grieving to eventually a state of relief and able to eat and able to celebrate and worship the Lord. And I will close with the last part of the verse. I don't want to speak too long, but I'll go with the one that's last but not least. Okay, so I'm going to reiterate the verse that Joel did, because that was definitely nice that we actually follow like on this. So let's see. Yeah, again, she has a lot of this stuff in her Bible, but and here we go. It's good she has a lot, for some. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 14. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so then them which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. And easier, it was one of the harder verses to see from King James, but I know it as we do not weep as the world weeps. We do, yes, we do have times of sorrow, but we also have a time it is through our biblical glasses, it's our understanding of what God does for us, that we are also able to take this time to worship and praise God for Miriam being in heaven. And it's through that hope that I hope that we can take this time to not only, reflect time to be sad and stuff, but there's also a time we also, through Christ, are able to spend time to worship him. And I hope we are able to continue to do this today. Thank you.